Welcome to our featured guest segment on today's Smart Chiropractor show. Our featured guest segment is one of my favorites, and if you want to check out all of our previous segments that have featured guests, you can head over to YouTube and check out the playlist. Additionally, interviews by the Smart Chiropractor. It's the most popular podcast in chiropractic right now, and it's available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. If you search interviews by the Smart Chiropractor, you will be able to follow along with a complete lineup of these featured guest interviews in audio format. On today's show, we're going to visit with Jon Morrison of Get Clear Websites. We're going to talk about supercharging your chiropractic website. Jon's company is a great one. There are a few companies that we really like out there doing awesome work in the website space. Jon's company, Get Clear, is one of them. And we chatted with him about exactly what you need to know as a practicing doc around web design and function to enable yourself to supercharge growth long term. Without further ado, here's a conversation we had with Jon Morrison. Hey, Smart Chiropractors, and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show. This is your featured guest segment where each and every week we take the opportunity to talk to really cool people doing really cool things in and around the chiropractic space. And I am fortunate to today have a conversation with an old friend of mine, I guess I can say at this point, Jon Morrison, co-founder of Clinic Sites. Jon, thanks for chatting with me today.
Great to be here, Jeff. Thank you so much, and privileged to get a chance to be on the show.
Well, my pleasure. And so many docs out there, I'm going to kick it right off. So many docs have a website. Maybe they have a website company, but they don't really know what they're paying for or what their website's supposed to do for them, I guess you could say. So I want to pick it up right there and ask you, for the docs out there listening, they have a website, they're interested in even making it work better, convert better. What should they be looking for in a website company that you've discovered of years and decades in the business that would help them achieve their goals at a higher level?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think about websites a lot, especially in the clinical space. And one of the things that I want to correct at first is just when people think that websites are only about your marketing. And I mean, marketing is important. But when it comes to what a website's use is, I think about things like, yeah, getting in new patients is super important. Who wouldn't want more new patients? But we're also so time poor these days that it would be nice if your website could save you a bit of time. And the way that we could do that is to answer some questions that people have, maybe some directions that people need about getting to your place, common questions about, maybe your insurance, questions about, ask your administrator, or even just think about what are the common questions that I get asked all the time, and then answer them on your website, because that will save you a ton of time. Maybe there's things that you just find yourselves saying all the time, like exercises that you give. Throw a camera in front of you on a mat and just do those exercises. So instead of saying it every single day, you can record it and then point people to your website. So who wouldn't like to save time? So marketing is important, but saving time is huge. The other thing that I think websites can do is to add value to your practice. I think that when somebody's going to buy your practice one day, they're going to look at your website as one of the first things to determine, what is this website like? And yes, I mean, you'll come up with the numbers, and a professional broker will give you what your practice is worth based on how many patients you have and your activation. They'll look at everything, but that emotional buy is going to come from the first impression your website gets. So I don't have the data to prove this, because my clients aren't selling a lot of their practices yet. But I think a good website could add like $20,000 to a sale. Just a number I'm just picking, but it's all emotional, and it's all based on that first impression. Okay, so that's what a website should do. And then a website should also replace your business card budget. So I don't know how much you spend on business cards, but people aren't passing them around anymore. I mean, they didn't before COVID much, and now they're definitely not since COVID. And so one of the things that websites should do is convert your referrals. So it's not just about your, bringing in new patients that are totally cold, but like even when a client a patient has an amazing experience, maybe in the past they would have given you a business card, or you would have met somebody. Now they just send people to the website. We have one client who moved into a new area of his town, was meeting a neighbor while watering the garden. So they're talking over the fence, and he's found out he's a chiropractor. And the guy said, in the past, I might have said, "Hey, give me your business card. I'll give you a call." Instead, guess what he said, Jeff? "What's your website?" So he went and looked at his website and came back and said, "I'd like to be I'd like you to be my chiropractor." So imagine if he had a bad website and he didn't come back and say, it's like, oh, I went to your website and I think you got some work to do. And that would have been an awkward neighbor relationship, but because now they work together, it was because a website converted him. So those are the 4 things. Get new patients. Yes, a website should do that. Save you time, increase the value of your practice, and convert your referrals. That's what I'm all about. That's what I love to do to help chiropractors with those 4 things.
I love it. I always tell the joke that I'm the only guy on planet Earth that cruises chiropractic websites for fun, but maybe you might be the second guy on planet Earth here.
I don't do it for fun. It literally makes me cringe. Sadly, I mean that's when I'm wondering, like, what am I here on Earth to do? Like, what's my purpose? I go to chiropractic websites and I realize, holy cow, I've got a lot of work to do before they can put me in the ground. So.
There's a lot of challenged websites out there. There's no question about it. One thing that you mentioned that I would love to dive deeper into is the empathetic connection. You said the emotional connection, the positioning, if you will, defining who you are as a provider. And I know you've been deeply involved in the StoryBrand field for a significant amount of time. And that's an aspect of what you bring in to the websites that you create at a certain level. And I love that. For docs that are unfamiliar with StoryBranding, what is it? And then the second part of that would be, how do you think about that in terms of installing it into a website?
Well, I think the story branding part is really just a label for what we know should be the case. And this is what I think was eye-opening to me over the years, is that, I'd be talking to a chiropractor and I'm like, tell me what your philosophy. He goes, well, we do patient-centric care. And I'm like, really? Because I went on your website and it's all about you. I thought you would give doctor-centric care because your website is all about you're the center and all that you do. And it's not really about your patients at all. And so there was a breakdown to me in that most patient-centric docs were doing doctor-centric marketing. And so StoryBrand became very appealing amongst those who already had that in their philosophy, right? Like, they do care about patients. They love patients, but when it comes to their marketing, they get uncomfortable. They don't really know what to say. And so that cursor's blinking at them saying, you have no idea what to say here, right? Even when you work with a chiropractic company, like marketing company, they're going to ask for some information. If you don't have a framework, then you're just going to do what most of us do when we get uncomfortable. We talk about ourselves, right? And we do that at parties. We do that at events. And we do that when we're public speaking. That's what we know best. So we go to what we're comfortable with. We do that on dates too. Like, we just talk about ourselves. But it's not effective in communication. People want you to connect with them and to get into their story. And so that's why StoryBrand was so popular amongst those who have the deep philosophical beliefs that patients should be at the center of our practices. So it shouldn't be different on your website then. And so all StoryBrand is doing is flipping around the focus from, this is who I am, I'm the doctor, this is why I'm important, to you're the patient. These are your goals. This is your idea of your happily ever after based on you being the hero of your story. Here's how we can be a part of that. So here's some of the benefits of working with us. Here's some of the reasons why you can trust us. And here's some of the outcomes that you can expect. It is really on flipping that. So we don't talk necessarily about the services or the tools that you offer as much as we talk about the benefits and the outcomes. And that's why StoryBrand, I think, has been so largely effective, is because it's realigned people to say, oh yeah, I really should be talking to my patients in my marketing and not just talking about myself. Yeah. So it's just a framework to help you do that.
Benefits over features. That is always something very important to be reminded of, I think, all of us as people out there in the community. If you're a chiropractor, if you are a business owner, it's about those connections. It's about getting your message out there and really putting your client, your patient, whoever it might be, at the heart of that story. Critically important. Jon, I want to trace it back to a little bit of origin story right now. How'd you get involved in all this to begin with? You have deep product knowledge. You have great insight. How did this all start for you?
Well, I mean, I love people. It's always been something that's been important to me, and helping people grow and empowering them to grow their businesses or their practices. I think it just came with chiropractors. The way back story is that when I first got certified as a StoryBrand guide was the same month that Mark Zuckerberg was announcing that he was going to start promoting groups. So social media was going to become social again. And I realized that there was no Facebook group for StoryBrand people. So this is back in 2017. And so I just started a group called, hey, learn how to StoryBrand your business. Well, there was a chiropractor in Colorado. He he saw that what I was doing and I was helping people. I wasn't charging anything for it. He invited me to his mastermind group and said, "Hey, would you mind being a part? Do the same things you're doing with this group, this Facebook group. Do it online with these chiropractor friends of mine." And so I said, "Sure, I'll show up." So I literally walked into a Zoom room, and there was 10 heads there, and one guy's name was Bobby, one guy was Kevin, one guy was Josh, and Andrew in there. And I just started sharing stuff about them, and they brought up all their websites. And I was like, "Oh, guys, like that doesn't make any sense, or that's not good." And literally, Jeff, like, I walked away, and the call went long. I was late for dinner, and my wife's like, "How'd it go?" Like that went for a while. I said, "I think I just pissed off a bunch of American chiropractors." And then literally I said this line. It's been immortalized in our family. In fact, we should put it above our dinner table. It's like, "It's okay. We'll never see them again. Let's eat." But then the next day, I realized that this Kevin Christie guy had a podcast, and so did this guy named Bobby, and so did Josh. And they all invited me to be a guest in their podcast. And then a couple of clients came in because of that. And I was just doing the StoryBrand. And then I realized that websites is so important. So then I just kind of focused on the website part. While I was doing that, my brother he had built a website platform from scratch for nonprofits. So he had grown it to 1,000 nonprofits, and then he sold it to a company, but kept the rights to the corporate side of it. So then I got to keep the corporate side, because he's like, "I'm tied up with this company for 5 years or so. Do you want this?" So then I got to apply StoryBrand and this really easy to use website platform that was designed for like Aunt Betty, who's leading a nonprofit, right? Or a church secretary or something who has high needs but low abilities. And I thought, those are a lot of like the chiropractors I work with. They're not great with marketing, and they want to have control over their stuff. So then I said, let's apply the StoryBrand principles with chiropractors with the website. And then that's how that kind of came about. But then just to share a little bit more, I was speaking at an event in St. Louis for the FTCA group, and I ran into my friends from Jane, who I had grown up with. There's a lot of the story there, but we were good friends at one point. I was best man at one of their weddings, and then but we had time and distance and all that with kids and stuff. But we reconnected there and said we should be working together. Like Jane app and clinic sites could really be working well. So we figured out integration, and then I was really bought in for life. So if I was kind of moonlighting with chiropractors at one point, once you name your company Clinic Sites, that's when I realized like I have to go all in on helping clinic owners win by giving them great websites. So then all of a sudden, I'm researching on like ADA compliance stuff and all sorts of stuff that but it's all my heart is always to help people grow their business and win. And right now my focus is clinic owners.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job doing that. And a question that I have off of what you mentioned is the technical limitations. So many docs, you and I, we geek out in the technology space. It's what we do for our careers. We get deep into that stuff. So many docs out there are caregivers by nature. They want to provide care and have as little encumbrance around that as possible. That's what they love to do. It's how they make their living. And sometimes technology can be super intimidating. How do you approach clinic sites as the business owner in a way that enables the chiropractor and your client to be able to manage things and not be like super stressed out and super, technologically beaten down as some of us have been with tech and tech projects in the past?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hopefully we don't have too much of a time constraint, because I love just chatting about this, but my heart is to help people win with tools. So they should be able to manage their own website. I think the thing that frustrates me the most is if you look at your own website, like you paid for this website, you're looking at it and your name is misspelled, or your wife's name is misspelled, or your assistant's name is misspelled, or something's amiss there. Maybe you want to add a blog, you've written all this stuff and you can't do it. Right? That's incredibly frustrating to me, because like how debilitating is it, or just like unempowering it is it to not be able to make a change on your website. So it's like there's a lowercase g there. All I need to do is make it an uppercase G, and I have no idea how to do it. So instead I have to email this place, and maybe it's the weekend, so they're not going to get back to me till even Tuesday. And then maybe some places even bill you for it. Like, oh, we capitalized the G, so here's $100 that you owe us now. It's like everybody, the tools are there now. Like the technology is there that we should be able to just go into our websites and quickly make changes. And that's the thing that fires me up. However, both of you and I know that even though some people can do it, they still don't do it. And so the next thing I realized is that we need to have outstanding human technical support, so that when you have an issue, you need to get a human there, not just to be referred to a chatbot or someone that doesn't speak English or whatever, your own native language. It needs to be as simple as possible, because the truth is that you don't have to do everything as a clinic owner, right? Like, you're great at serving people. You're good at taking care of them. You don't have to be an expert HTML coder and all that. You just have to have a tool that allows you to do it. So there's no coding involved on our platform. It's literally just like, if you can manage a Facebook profile, then you can manage your own website. And that, to me, is the heart of what Clinic Sites is all about. It's about giving power to people to be able to manage their website, because I think it's a life skill these days. If you want to own a business, and chiropractors are business owners, we all know that. I think that managing a website is a life skill that you have to know. It's just part of like understanding your taxes and understanding your HR issues, understanding marketing in your website, I think is a part of it.
I think that is a great answer, and a great practical advice for all the docs listening and watching. Is there's certain things that you can delegate, and while you don't need to build your website from scratch, Jon Software will help make that easy. There are some core tenets when you have the right tools available that can really empower you to do a lot more and really be a little bit more creative, be a little bit more engaging, do things on your own that enable you to be more nimble as a practice and as a provider. And that is so important for all of us. One thing that I would be remiss to if I didn't ask you this is, so many docs, when they hear website, they immediately think Google and SEO. What are maybe I'll let you choose. You can either go to a misnomer or two around Google and SEO, or a tip or two every doc listening and watching should know around Google and SEO.
Well, maybe I can do both. We'll see. I think the misnomer is that it's this complicated thing that you have to jam in keywords into places that completely wreck your whole website, right? So if you just put chiropractor in your city over and over enough times, then maybe you'll get to the top of Google. And maybe there was a time when that was the case, but obviously Google's gotten a little smarter. And so I think, Jeff, my working theory is that if you want to figure out Google, you've got to figure out what Google wants. And I think what Google wants is to provide an amazing experience to those who are searching. Because Google knows that if people have a question and they go to Google, and if Google can't supply an answer that's trustworthy, then Google's in trouble. They're going to go to Bing, they're going to go to Yahoo, or whatever's coming up next, right? And so Google has to stay atop of the game by always finding out what is the best content that I can provide this person who's asking this question. So sometimes it's like a universal question, and geography doesn't matter, but sometimes the question is geographical specific. Like, let me find who's the best chiropractor near me. So Google has, they've learned a few things, like checking out the reviews, checking out how long people are spending on a page. Is the page, does it load fast? If somebody clicks on a link and it just is a white screen, we know Google has the stats that says people are going to bounce off of it. So if they bounce and they go somewhere else, then Google said, well, we sent the people to this one place at one time, and then they left before they even saw any content. We're not going to show them first again, because it weakens the Google product. So when you figure out that Google's end game is to provide people with the best possible experience, then all of a sudden you realize, I can do that. And how do I do that? I have a clean looking website. It has a message that keeps people engaged. It has videos that are also engaging. People click around, right? It means they're reading stuff and they're engaging with it. So I got to have a website that actually speaks to people. And so the web content is good. The web design is important. And of course, like some of the things like speed and stuff are good too. So there's just a few things. The mystery is I have to do all these things that only these gurus of SEO understand. But the gurus of SEO are all saying, just provide content that provides a great experience for people, that scratches where they're itching, because that's what Google wants. And of course, here's one thing. It has nothing to do with my platform, but everyone would say, and I've seen you talking about this, and I applaud you on it, Jeff. I've even pointed people to a lot of your blogs. Google My Business is so important. Why is that important? Because Google, of course, Google's going to want to put people into Google My Business. Their name is right in there, right? So if you have a clear, robust, accurate Google My Business profile, Google's going to reward you for that. And if it's got lots of reviews and stuff, of course, that's important too. So you should have a system for how you're getting new, fresh reviews, but building out with all of the services that you offer a detailed description of what those services are like, so that the keywords are in there, but not jammed in there so that you're trying to hack the system, but actually well written so that people find it engaging and want to read it, because Google's tracking all that stuff. And Jeff, I welcome your thoughts, because this is an area that you are clearly an expert in too. Did I get it right, do you think?
I wholeheartedly agree. Dialing in your Google Business NAP, as we'd say, name, address, phone number, critically important. So when somebody takes action, they're actually getting to the right place. The only thing that I'll push back on is nobody's going to Bing. I'm just playing with you. So
they might go to Bing if Google starts laying an egg every time, though, right? Like, if Google keeps pointing people to crappy websites with bad information, eventually the product will be weakened, and then they're going to find something else, right? So Google's going to be on high alert not to let that happen, right? So that's all. But yeah, they're not going to Bing.
You're 100% correct. And we speak about, within the Smart Chiropractor, about teaching and inviting consistently. How do you have marketing campaigns and content that proactively answer the questions people in your community are asking for exactly what you're saying? When they go in and they're searching, if they're hitting your website and you're answering the question clearly, directly, with a great user experience, powered by clinic sites, now it's going to really Google's going to favor you long term. You're going to convert more patients, and you're just going to do a better job teaching and inviting, educating, engaging with your community. Jon, we could go on and on for this. We could geek out for hours and hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. Before we close, where can docs learn more about you and or clinic sites?
Yeah, you can, why don't you try a Google search of clinic sites to see if we're doing okay. Or you could just go quickly to clinicsites.co. We started this company with this specific domain 2 years ago. Clinicsites.com was taken. It became available, and I got outbid at the last second by 5 minutes. So I lost that bid by $5 and 5 minutes. I was ahead. I was like, we won it. We got clinicsites.com finally. And then now people think, are you guys like a Colombian company or something? But no, clinicsites.co is where you'll find us. And yeah, just reach out to me, because I'm happy to have a conversation through social. I'm a member of your group. Happy to contribute however I can and add value. But also just jon@clinicsites.co is my email address. So I love chatting with chiropractors. They're my people, and I'm happy to be a part of this community. And I got brought in as a late addition, but I've been happy to serve these last 5 years in this community.
Thank you. Love your work. Thanks for sharing today. You gave a bunch of practical information that docs out there not only need to know, but can act on. I love it. Thank you so much for taking some time, and I'll speak with you soon.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for all your hard work serving the community as well. It's a privilege to get to spend time with you.
You're welcome. All right, great interview with Jon Morrison at Clinic Sites. Get clear, and a good guy and knows his stuff as far as websites are concerned. So lots of great information. I'm going to encourage you, if you have built your own website, rewind, wait for it on Interviews by the Smart Chiropractor, but really take some of those tips and implement them. It's going to help your website perform at a higher level. And if you are somebody that currently has a website with a company, it's great to spot check them. So getting a great understanding of exactly how a site should be running, some optimization tips, perhaps even just reaching out to your current website company. If you hear something or have an idea, ask them if they can implement for you. It's a great way to get optimal performance out of it. Use the information that's available for the benefit of your practice, which is a direct reflection on the benefit it can provide the patients in your community. Jason?
It's good to understand just how the digital ecosystem works. A website is just one part of what should be your entire digital strategy. What are you doing to make sure that when people search for you, they find you? But also, that's the website search engine side of the equation. But also, what are you doing to encourage people to want to learn from you, to want to stay connected with you, to be part of your, what we refer to as health tribe, where they learn to learn from you on an ongoing basis. So website, important part of a bigger piece and a bigger understanding of how to use digital media to teach and invite your community on a consistent basis.
Indeed. And if you missed it at the top, you can subscribe to Interviews by the Smart Chiropractor on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere your favorite podcast is found. We're across many, many podcast channels. So if you have a platform and you can't find it, let us know, because you are on a really esoteric platform, but we would love to have it there. Otherwise, you can go to all those major players and get interviews by the Smart Chiropractor, where we are putting out more than one interview per week. Many of them are featured guest segments on this show. Great information for you to know. We've had an awesome array of guests and many more already recorded that nobody's heard except Jason and I. So stay tuned for those, and stay tuned to the featured guest segment on this show. If you want to check it out all video style, head over to YouTube. We have a whole playlist of our featured guest, audio, interviews by a Smart Chiropractor, video, all available right now, or at least up to right now's show, all available right now on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching this video on the Smart Chiropractor. To not miss a single thing that's clinically oriented, marketing oriented, or more, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel today.